So let's continue working on our plans. We got a first nice look. Now I want to ensure that the plan in the middle really looks different. For this, I want to change its background color. I also want to highlight this recommended badge, so to say. And with that, we would have a layout, a look that would probably push the customer more into picking this plan, which is something you typically want to implement on your pages. So for that, we first of all need to go back to the HTML code. Because to control, for example, this recommended badge, I need to give it an extra class, of course. So you could add any class you want to the h1 tag holding the recommended text. I will add a class which I'll name plan __ annotation. Again, following this naming convention where this belongs to the plan, hence it starts with plan, but then it's like a sub-element of the plan. It's the, well, annotation, or you can name it subtitle, you can name it badge, whatever you want. So this is the first thing I want to add. The second thing is I want to add a second class to the article element itself. This second class should allow me to change the background color, to highlight this plan. So I will add plan -- highlighted here. This is a helper class which I can use to still get the default plan styles, which I want. I want to get that inline block style, I want to get that vertical align style, but I actually want to override the background color, and I can do that with the help of the plan highlighted class. So let's pick that plan highlighted class here, and let's use it. In the main.css file, I will add it below my plan class here, so plan -- highlighted, and I simply want to set the background color to a darker green here. Now the green I picked is 19B8-4C, but of course you can pick any color you want. And with that, if we now save both files, so the index.html and the main.css file, and we reload, the middle plan already stands out more. Now, this looks nice. One other thing we can do though is we could try changing the text color. So set the color to white, for example. If we set it to white, now, in my opinion, the text is a bit easier to read. So I want to keep that look too. The next thing that I want to do, or that I want to add, is I want to add a little drop shadow behind the plan. Now for that, we can use the box shadow property. So on the plan highlighted class, I'll add box - shadow, and the box shadow property is something we didn't dive in yet. The box shadow property allows you to define a drop shadow or an inset shadow by adding inset as the first keyword and then adding the same parameters as I'm going to show you. But here I will not add an inner shadow, so I will remove that. And then the other values, which you would also add for an inset shadow then, are the positioning of the shadow on the x-axis. So here I will pick 2 pixels. On the y-axis, I will also pick 2 pixels here. So it's positioned 2 pixels to the right and to the bottom of the original shape. Then you can define the blurriness. Here I will pick 2 pixels too. And the spread. So how much the shadow should actually spread beyond the borders you define with the first 2 values. And here we'll use 2 pixels too. You can omit the spread, and you can also omit the blur, by the way. Then you would get a very sharp shadow which directly ends after the 2 pixels. Or you add all 4 things, of course. And then you add the shadow color. You can use any color here, like green, but I want to use a transparent black. And for that, here's a second new thing, a color function. We thus far always define colors with either a word, like red, or a hashtag. Now actually, there are more ways of defining colors than that, and color functions are one other way. For example, you can use the RGB function to define a color by setting its red, green, and blue value, which is a value between 0 and 255. So for example, this would essentially yield white. And in my IDE, you can even see a preview, even pick a different color if you want. So this is the RGB way of defining a color. Black, on the other hand, would be 0, 0, 0. And there's an alternative to RGB. There is RGBA. RGBA also allows you to add a fourth argument, the alpha channel, which defines the transparency of this color. And here I will set this to .5, which means it has a transparency of 50%. If you add 1 here, this will mean it's fully opaque actually, so it's not transparent. If you use 0 here, it's fully transparent. And you can always confirm this in the IDE that you're using or in the developer tools of your browser. There you can also go to the color picker, and here you would see the transparency level 2. Now I will set this to .5. So this is a box shadow and a color function, so 2 new things in one step. Awesome. And with that, we can save that and reload the page. And now we see we got that box with this slight drop shadow to the bottom and to the right, which has a light blurriness and a little bit of spread, so a little bit of rough edges, so to say, spreading out a little bit beyond the 2 pixels we defined. And as you can probably also tell, it's not fully black. It's transparent. It looks gray, but it's actually transparent. And for this, I like the look. This really makes this item in the middle stand out. We'll continue working on the look of this layout throughout the course, but for now, this looks good to me. Now, let's continue working on this, and let's next add a better look for this badge here.